In today's video, liberals are protesting the arrest of Judge Hannah. Pam Bondi sets the record straight behind this arrest, and Democrats are already defending the alleged crime.
Americans voted for a president. They didn't vote for a king. Trump is acting like a king. This is what kings do. The very public arrest of this judge that happened in the cafeteria at the courthouse just a couple miles that way shows the contempt and disregard that Trump and FBI Director Kash Patel have for our judiciary. What did the FBI director go and do this morning after this arrest? He gloated about it on Twitter. That is absolutely unacceptable.
And so we have to come down here. We have to be here. We have to be here this afternoon. We have to be here tomorrow. We have to be marching on May Day to demonstrate that this is our city. These are our streets, and we will not accept this. I say this as a Jewish person who has in my DNA intergenerational trauma from exactly this kind of fascism.
Well, that's unfortunate that she believes she has generational trauma, and I don't believe that's even a thing. I believe it's up here in someone's mind. That's a whole nother conversation. I think what's more important is, what if this judge is 110% guilty? Then what? So you guys are going to waste your precious time and money to protest outside of a federal courthouse because you believe President Trump is wrong on this? I don't know what goes through these individuals' mind. I'm just being honest here. I mean, this is crazy. Why can't we just let the process play out? Maybe she's guilty, maybe she's not, but let her have her day in court, and then you guys can protest after the fact. That's just me. Now, here's a short clip of the judge herself running away from reporters.
Judge, anything to say about this?
Well, she was obviously in a hurry, and for good reason. She doesn't want to get caught in front of a camera. I mean, that is for sure. Secondly here, listen, they've been crying about a constitutional crisis. I think this is what the constitutional crisis is, where these judges, no one's there really to hold them accountable, so they can do whatever they want, basically, from a political standpoint, not necessarily what's in the best interest of the Constitution. I think that's why everything Trump is doing is being hit with an injunction. And now you got these judges hiding illegal aliens in their own possession. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that is a constitutional crisis. Now, Eric said this on social media, which I think hits it right on the nail. Every Democrat judge is now officially on notice. If you sheltered, aided, and or abetted illegal alien criminals, rather than destroy the evidence, you ought to just turn yourself in and strike a plea deal rather than ride it out. American law enforcement is back.
Justice, no peace. Judge Dugan will be free. No justice, no peace. Judge Dugan will be free. No justice, no peace. Judge Dugan will be free.
Well, I do agree with him when it comes to one thing, is the judge will be free, but it'll just be on bond, obviously, because, she's being indicted for these charges. And hopefully the Attorney General actually follows through here, because I think the main criticism from the DOJ and the FBI, in my opinion, is I don't want to see any more media appearances. I want to see people getting arrested. I think we all can agree to that. And not just arrested, but convicted and sent to prison. So why don't we hear from the person who is supposed to make all that happen, Pam Bondi? Here's what she said.
So let me read a little bit from the criminal complaint here. And Judge Dugan says, despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through the jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. A foot chase ensued. The agents pursued Flores Ruiz for the entire length of the courthouse and ultimately apprehended him. According to this complaint, Judge Dugan was visibly angry that ICE was there to arrest Flores Ruiz, even tried to kick the deportation agents out of the courthouse.
Yeah, and to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, beat the guy, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave.
Now, there's a part of me that obviously encourages this type of behavior because I just don't see how this will convince independents to vote for a Democrat president in 2028. But also a part of me is like, hey, we need to hold this judge accountable. We need to discourage this behavior as much as possible. And this is just a tragedy all around. I mean, this is the last thing we need in our judicial system. You know, I can't say I'm shocked because people on the left, they don't really think for themselves, in my opinion, because everybody believes in the same thing. At least on the right, there are plenty of things we disagree on. But this definitely is not one of them.
All right. As you lay out the facts of the case, as you can imagine, people are now responding. Bear with me here. We just got this full statement from the lawyer representing Judge Hannah Dugan saying that she has committed herself to the rule of law and the principles of due process for her entire career as a lawyer and a judge. She has retained former United States Attorney Stephen Biskupik to represent her. Judge Dugan will defend herself vigorously and looks forward to being exonerated. Okay, quick reaction to that. But what I really want to get to is also the governor is speaking out as well as a Democratic Congresswoman, Gwen Moore, because you can imagine the other side of politics responding to this. But first, your response to the attorney representing Dugan.
Well, everyone is entitled to their day in court. Judges, criminal defendants, victims, and those victims were entitled to their day in court, and they didn't get it because she let a criminal defendant walk out a door. She helped them. She obstructed justice. And that's what she's charged with.
Today's video is sponsored by Aura, and I got to tell you what they did for my wife. So she was getting about 40 to 60 spam calls a day, and I'm not exaggerating here, but Aura was able to get that knocked down to about 6 a day. Now, understand something. If you're getting spam calls like that, chances are your personal information is leaked somewhere on the internet, and Aura can help you find out exactly where that is. Now, they don't just block calls. They also monitor your credit, protect your social security number, scan the title of your home, track financial transactions, and even offer parental controls to keep your kids safe. It's been a game changer for my family, and I know it will be for yours. That's why Aura is offering my viewers a 100% free 14-day trial. Just go to aura.com/Devori. Again, that is aura.com/Devori, or hit the link in the description below.
Okay, this statement now coming from Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore, who represents Milwaukee. As you know, she said of Judge Dugan's arrest that the administration's willingness to weaponize federal law enforcement is shocking, and that she is alarmed at the increasingly lawless actions of the Trump administration.
Well, we'll let this play out in court, and I hope she reaches out to the victims of domestic violence who were in that courtroom that day, and the state prosecutor who sat there all day long in Milwaukee, or all morning, waiting on this case to be heard.
Okay, this is going to be another Mr. Garcia case, folks. Okay, they're going to try to make this judge their hero, and they're going to ignore the facts, and they're also going to ignore the true victims in this case, because it's not the judge. It's not the illegal alien. It's who the illegal alien had hurt physically, which is why he was in the courtroom to begin with, because he was supposed to be charged. So just pay attention. That's exactly what's going to happen. And to prove my point, here's how they're already talking about this entire situation. Take a look.
Level judge in Wisconsin. The FBI just arrested a Wisconsin judge accusing her of shielding an immigrant from federal officials. When you're doing stuff like that, it makes people say, you know, not enough people, mind you, but more people all the time say, that's not what I had in mind when Trump was talking about immigration.
No, actually, it is what people had in mind. It's called the rule of law. If people are preventing President Trump from deporting illegal aliens, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, because it's exactly what the prior administration did, but just in their own way. If you didn't say what they wanted you to say, they were going to censor you. In fact, in some cases, they threw you in jail. So what he's saying has already happened, but on their side of things. Now, let's get rid of all the politics here. And just from a legal standpoint, did she commit a crime or not?
Looking at the complaint, let's strip the politics out of it. This is a crime. If they can prove what happened here, It is a crime. This judge, let's strip the Trump of it all out. Let's strip the immigration of it all out. Let's say law enforcement shows up at a building with an arrest warrant. They're looking for person A. Person B then says, hey, there's a secret escape door out back. I'm going to show you the way, and then ushers that person out the back door. That is textbook obstruction.
Well, at least he was willing to tell the truth, even though Democrats will ignore it because they don't care about facts. It's all about how they feel and their perception of the Trump administration. And I have an example for you. Here is the mayor of Milwaukee providing a delusional response to this arrest.
I think what happened here was just showboating. They're just trying to have this show of force, and in the process of doing this in a courthouse where people need to go for court proceedings, they're scaring people away from participating in the process. So if they are witness to a crime or something of the sort, they're not going to go and participate, and that makes our community less safe.
So the issue is with how the arrest happened, not necessarily that there was an investigation.
Again, I don't know all the things that happened there, but I'm saying that the way that they went about this, in this ham-handed, haphazard way that this administration has been doing since day one, it's driving people away, or has potential to drive people away from participating in court proceedings, which makes our community less safe. I want people to go to court. I want people to have their day in court. I want people to hold folks accountable in our judicial system, but the actions of this administration are driving people away from doing that, and that's not good for public safety in Milwaukee.
Do you believe this man should be deported?
I'm sorry?
Do you believe this man should be deported?
I don't know any information about the man. I'm talking specifically about the Trump administration's actions as it relates to this case and what they've been doing with immigration overall since he's been president again. Like, they're scaring people.
Okay, so this is the best way they found to deflect from how bad this situation is for them. They claim that President Trump is scaring people, that by him doing this, he is preventing people from actually trusting the justice system and being able to have their day in court in a fair and safe way. And my only response to that is, what about Lincoln Riley's family? What about the American citizens who felt unsafe under Joe Biden? Where were you then speaking out against that? Of course, it's hypocrisy 101.
And let me just make it clear. This president was elected overwhelmingly to seal the border and close down immigration loopholes. We had a poll recently, Harry put out, 60% of Americans today want to deport every one of the 11 million plus illegal aliens. They want to deport them. So for Trump, for the Trump administration politically, winner, winner, chicken dinner, every time you get somebody in this case, this judge, you know, there's that, remember when the Colombian president had did the plane shuffle, and then Trump put out the tweet with the face and the FAFO? Same tweet here today.
Now, here's what Chuck Schumer had to say in response. He said, there are no kings in America. Trump and Bondi can't just decide to arrest sitting judges at will and threaten judges into submission. This is a dangerous escalation, an attack on the separations of powers, and we will fight this with everything we have. But Chuck, what if everything they say is true? That she did commit a crime? You're still going to fight this case? And what's really disturbing is the comment section for this post. You got people on the left saying this in response to him. Senator Schumer, tweeting isn't enough. A sitting judge was arrested for defending due process. If you can't lead a real immediate response, legal, structural, political, then step aside for those who will. History won't remember statements. It will remember action or surrender.
So there has been a violation here that we know for sure, and it is not the judge. That's something that remains to be proved. The thing that we do know is that the FBI director has violated DOJ policy. I know I can hear Tim looking at me going, that's so quaint.
The norms.
Right, exactly. But that is, you don't do it. Remember sitting here going, James Comey, really flouted the rules because he started talking about his own personal opinions of somebody who is not being charged. This is somebody who's being charged, and you are supposed to stay mum, and instead completely denigrated her, and you don't do that.
All right, so before I even respond to that nonsense, follow Margaret Cleveland on X. Phenomenal individual. She's been following every single one of these court cases. She actually will screenshot the rulings so we can read it in a very organized fashion. And just the one thing that she did to make my point very clear and how utterly despicable that take was, when they are talking about, hey, we need to respect common courtesies and We need to do things the way they've always been done. You guys threw that out the window in the way that you treated President Trump and his family over the past 4 years. So stop it. This guy is going to bat for a judge who's defending this individual 3 counts of domestic battery with physical pain or injury, and he was already deported once and then returned. So if they can arrest the president, if they can take a mugshot of the president, they can arrest a judge.
What's going to happen next? I mean, are we going to see this bounced up somehow eventually to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it'll get to the Supreme Court because I think the law is so clear. The states argue, the sanctuary states argue, they don't have to affirmatively assist us, the feds, in getting hold of these illegal aliens. But this isn't a question of assisting. This is actually interfering with, of harboring, of getting in the way. And so I don't think there's any question about this, and I think it's time for zero tolerance and getting back to basics, which are that judges and state officials are still citizens, they're subject to the federal law, and they cannot interfere in or impede the federal function. So I'm 100% in agreement with what's done.
Now, given that it's so obvious that Democrats could care less about the rule of law and the actual facts of a case, they care more about the emotion and the talking point and the narrative, I am totally in agreement with him. We need to go back to zero tolerance, especially if you're serving in such a role that is expected to have high standards like being a judge. So I don't want to hear it from the left. I'm sure you don't want to either. But we're going to show you what both sides are saying, which brings me to the question I'd love for you guys to answer in this video. Do you believe this judge is going to be prosecuted in the right way? Do you think she'll actually be held accountable? Also, do you think Democrats will make another mistake by trying to make this judge their next hero? Let me know what you guys think about all that in the comment section below. Now, earlier this morning, we discussed a breaking story where President Trump has now ordered the Department of Justice to investigate Act Blue for fraud and corruption. But wait till you hear what the CEO of Act Blue had to say. If you missed out on that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.